Hello YouTube. This video today will be about a book. I've decided to do a book review of this book, which is called Out of Mal's Shadow by Philip P. Pan. This is a great non-fiction book. It's a history/political related book towards China. I will show you the author. Here's the author, Philip P. Pan. He is a foreign correspondent for the Washington Post and the newspaper's former Beijing bureau chief. This is the first book I've read from him, and I think he's a good author. This book is very easy to read for any person. You only have a few hard words, like once every 5 pages or so. I also like to annotate anything that's fascinating information, which I've done. And they have pictures. Black and white pictures, like I think one picture every chapter, so that's great that they have that. What I liked about this book though is that it is broken up into stories. On the top right, it has a title of the story. When I flip it, here's a story called Blood and Love. I flip it other pages. Then this part of the story is about the honest doctor. Here's a little summary of the book, which tells you a brief summary of the book. From the rusting factories in the industrial northeast to a tabloid newsroom in the booming south, from a small town courtroom to the plush offices of the nation's wealthiest tycoons. He tells the gripping stories of ordinary men and women fighting for political change. An elderly surgeon exposes the government's cover-up of the SARS epidemic. A filmmaker investigates an execution of a young woman during this cultural revolution. A blind man is jailed for leading a crusade against the forced abortions carried out under the one-child policy. So, yeah, I like about this book. Again, it breaks it down into stories, which makes it really easy. It has very interesting political ones. For example, the one-child policy, which actually at the very end of the book. And it ends with the one-child policy story, and that was really interesting. And it talks about a rich lady in the book. Here it is. Here's a chapter. I'll show you her since they do have a picture of her. Right here. Here's the richest lady in China, Qin Li Hua. I don't know how to pronounce it. Lihua. Anyway, it talks about her bribing some of the Chinese party members. Chinese Communist Party, and bribing other business owners or other rich people so she get what she wants, or she does anything corrupted, she can just pay them with money or nice fancy Mercedes-Benz cars. But anyways, she's very rich, of course, and powerful because she has the party on her side. And in China, any dictatorship country, if the party is on your side, well, you have the almighty power then. The party's on your side, you basically have more power than anyone else. But I found that story really interesting, the rich lady. And basically, this book is called Out of Mal's Shadow, meaning this whole book is about Chinese history and Chinese politics after Mao passed away, which is why it says out of his shadow, so it's after he passed away. I like this book overall. I would give it an A if I had to grade it. And I really think you should read this, especially if you love non-fiction books, if you love anything related to history, or if you just like China in general. Maybe you like Chinese history or Chinese art. But this is a really great book about different Chinese events. Like, for example, these Chinese authors went to trial against, I think, Chinese government official, and usually if you're going to court against a party member or anyone with lots of money or power, usually the odds are always against you. But in this particular story, the odds were in the author's favor. It's really interesting how in one part of the story, one of the defendants of the party member, he was reading off a list, and as soon as one of the authors said, put the list down and tell your side of the story, his mind suddenly went blank. It's like someone prepared a speech for him, and Since when that speech was taken away, he didn't know what to say. And eventually, yeah, the rich party member lost. So that was a really interesting story. It also talks about some Chinese lawyers who decided to back up the average common Chinese people instead of backing up the rich business or party members. And this guy, for example, see him right here. His name is actually Pu Zikuang, Pu. But yeah, he's an influential Chinese lawyer who's won many strong cases in China. So overall, this book is just very good. I enjoyed every bit of it. I finished this book right around Christmas time. I read like about 25, 30 pages a day, and it went by pretty quick. This book is about 323 pages long. And just overall, I think, yeah, if you like history or Chinese history or political history, you should read this book. One problem with this book, though, for me, though, is there's a flaw that they reprinted 30 pages that were already previously printed. So, yeah, I'm missing about 30 pages from the book, unfortunately. But it's alright. It's still really good. And hopefully, I might have influenced you to read this book. And I think that's the end of this. I hope you like this review. Hopefully I covered everything of this book. This is my first book review, so this is probably my least experienced review of a book. Okay, and that's the end of this. I have other books I read recently, like Hitlerland, and I'll be getting other books on Hitler's Mountain and Mein Kampf, which I might make a review on if I have time. And of course, I love nonfiction history books, historical books. That's actually my major in college, history. And I hope to make one of these in the future, and hopefully you liked this. Hopefully you liked my video of this book. And I'll see you next time on possibly another book review. Thank you and have a nice day.